Welcome to Coffee with Viking. I am Mike, also known as the Viking. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And as promised, I told you there'd be something new that I've never done before. This is my very first interview with a celebrity. And if you've seen the movie The Reconciler, you probably know the names I'm talking about. And if you've seen, based off my recommendation, Lucifer and the Father, then you definitely know Scott Galbraith is the first name, and Shawn Justice is also here. And let me move this around so you can see them. Can you guys see the screen?
Hello. Hello, I'm here. Yes, we are. We are here on the Vikings phone. Very nice to be on the show.
It's nice to have you guys. And I was really shocked to get your message asking for this, because this is the first time after all the reviews I've actually done that someone has actually gotten in touch with me back for something like this. So I want to say thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Of course, I think my guess would be, Mike, that the other people that you probably do reviews of probably have a longer resume than me. So that's probably one of the reasons why. To date, Reconciler and Lucifer and the Father are actually my only 2 screenwriting credits, and I only have 4 acting credits. So, shall we say, I probably have more time on my hands than some of the other people whose movies you've reviewed. But when something is your baby, you know that you tend to pay attention to the people who are watching it who want to take the time to say something about it. So, I've just been kind of reaching out to, ever since Richie Cristiano put it on his Christian Films YouTube page. For some reason, people on different sides of the spectrum, whether it be faith-based or whether it be mainstream, have felt the need to start doing reviews of it. So, this is I think Shawn would agree, this is kind of the most attention our film has gotten in the, what is it now, 8 years since we made it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we shot it in 2014, the summer of 2014.
Yeah, and then it came out in 2015, and so sometimes things, as Shawn says, sometimes life is a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes it takes a while for something to, get for people to really notice it. So now that people are noticing it, I've just kind of been monitoring it and reaching out to those who have done reviews and said, if you want us to tell you a little about the film process, Shawn and I will. Some have taken us up on the offer, like you, and some have not. But I'm not going to name names here. So.
Well, like you guys, being new to the film thing, I'm definitely new to YouTube. So I look at every opportunity to help grow as well and get attention to my channel as well. But there is one question I wanted to ask first before we got started at the beginning of how you guys got the idea for the film, and that actually, you told me I would have to ask Shawn this one.
Okay.
And it's the question on how you got the cameo of Roddy Piper in there. Did he volunteer, or how much did he ask for it? Or, 'cause I know in the end of his days he became a Christian.
Yeah, I've had my own film and video production company since 1989, and I've done a lot of different corporate projects, television projects, and I was kind of roped into a project that was a pilot for a television show, probably about 2011, that Roddy was doing locally in the Portland area, and I actually got asked by him personally, after he and I talked for a little bit. He wanted me to be his personal cameraman for the show, and so he and I spent a lot of time together, and we talked, and I think it was, actually, maybe it was 2012. Anyway, it was somewhere between 2012 and 2013, actually. When it came time to do this project, my co-producer, who is also working on that project, suggested Roddy for this one particular role. We knew we could get him for at least a day. He was local, per se, because he lived in the Portland area, and he was glad to do it. We negotiated his fee and for the day, and the rest is history.
So it was a light fee, but still kind of voluntary as well.
Well, I mean, he could have probably asked a lot more. We paid him more than the average person.
That was the biggest name in there, so I can see that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you paid him more than a writer acting his own film got.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the guy from They Live and a huge WWE legend.
Yeah. Oh, hey, if someone had told me, I tried, when I was younger, all the other boys in second grade were more into wrestling than I ever was, but I learned a lot of the names of the wrestlers just so I could, hang out with the cool kids and stuff. And if someone had reached back in time and said, oh, by the way, Scott, that one guy, Roddy Piper, one day you're going to be the co-writer of his last film. If someone had told me that back then, I never would have believed them. The only regret that I have is that I did not get a chance to meet him in this world. I'll have to meet him once we both get Heavenside. Because, as Shawn has mentioned in several interviews, we shot this film in 11 days. And in one interview I said I was on the set only 6 days. I was on the set only 7. And I went home. When I went home, there were still 4 days of shooting. And Roddy's only day of shooting was the last day of shooting. So I sadly did not meet Roddy Piper.
I definitely apologize for that because I would have loved to have met the man too while he was still here.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that even though he was a legendary villain in wrestling, he was one of the nicest people you would ever meet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Of course, if you look at Hulk Hogan, the legendary good guy, he's known for being mean to everybody in real life, so...
Yeah. Oh, hey, Mike, true conversation I've had with more people than I can count. When you have a film and you want people to see it, people will ask, who's in it, and there will be some younger people these days that I will go, oh, Roddy, we were Roddy Piper's last film. And then we'll go, who? And then I'll say to them, do you know who Hulk Hogan is? And they're like, yeah, of course. And I'll be like, Roddy was arguably his biggest antagonist. And they're like, oh, cool. So if I mention the name Roddy Piper and nobody knows who I'm talking about, that's how you just say he was Hulk Hogan's main adversary. And they're like, oh, okay. So
I'll definitely have to remember that one if anyone ever asks, because usually I just say They Live and wrestling legend.
Mm-hmm. I think I told you this, but I haven't said this in an interview. I'm not sure I told you this, Shawn. But, anytime I go to a convention, like a Northeast Comic-Con, where usually I'm dressed up like Mario from the Mario Brothers, I will always
Who's
have...
Mario?
always have... Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently you haven't seen the most successful animated films. But anyway,
What's a film?
Have copies of the film on me, just in case the situation presents itself. And one of the persons signing autographs at Northeast Comic-Con was Sergeant Slaughter, who I had been a fan of from his G.I. Joe time. And he had actually done an appearance on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So here I am dressed as Mario, Sergeant Slaughter's right there. I'm like, oh, I can't resist this. And I'm talking to him about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. He's telling me some stuff. And he just happens to say, oh, Roddy Piper did an appearance on the show as well, my late dear friend. Do you remember that? And I'm like, this is too good of an open door for me not to tell him. And I told him who I was. I told him about the Reconciler. This fat 40-something-year-old guy in a Mario suit is telling Sergeant Slaughter, I helped write your friend's last film. And he doesn't know me from Adam. And so the very next day I brought it in, and this tough-as-nails drill sergeant wrestler, Sergeant Slaughter, he takes the movie and he goes like this. I'm like, and he's like, thank you very much. And it's moments like that are kind of the ultimate to me when people ask us, what was your favorite part about making this film? So that's a story I just wanted to share, because I know that you had mentioned that you wanted to see this movie because Roddy's name was attached to it.
Oh, yeah, and I've been a huge fan of his since I was a kid, obsessed with wrestling. And then I went against my mom, and when I was at my dad's for a weekend visitation, he wound up playing They Live, which was one of those movies I wasn't allowed to watch because of the R rating. But
Yeah.
I still snuck and watched it with Dad, and it became my favorite film of all time and made me love Roddy even more. So every time I see his movie on his name in a movie, I have to check it out. But
So, were there other things you wanted to know about the film, or?
oh yeah, that was the first question. But the next question is, how'd you come up with the idea for the story behind it?
Well, the short version is I saw a couple episodes of Perfect Strangers where the great comedy duo of Mark Lynn-Baker and Bronson Pinchot, who played Larry and Balky. I'm trying to keep this as brief as I can because when Shawn and I do a lot of these interviews, I wind up just going on and on and on. Short version is there were a couple episodes where either a character or more than one character orchestrated a plan to trap some people who weren't talking to each other. And, like, for example, I'm a fan of the show Cobra Kai, and a lot of people have said, man, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka have said that people come up to them all the time and said, I would just love to lock Daniel and Johnny in a room until they work out their differences. And I think that's an expression used by a lot of people. So that was kind of, having seen that acted out on Perfect Strangers, that was kind of the beginning of it. I was like, what if there was a movie or a series about a guy who had suffered a tragedy that he never got to reconcile with a family member of his, and then he devoted his life to finding people who were on the outs, usually for petty reasons, and locking them up and and showing them how dumb they were being, and basically, just like a lot of people watch the film and they say, so this Reconciler guy is going to make them die if they no, he's not, because he's not going to do it to anybody who have a problem that is that hurtful. But I was just going to do it as a play for my church. It was kind of a throwaway play. I didn't think it was anything special. It was kind of a filler play. It was just a play that of all the plays I did for my church, I think it's the one I did the least work on. And so then when a situation that I will let Shawn tell you about presented itself to make a low-budget film, he said, let me take a look at that play of yours. And the story of how that opportunity came about is not mine to tell. You had said that you wanted Shawn to share it here, so I will let him share how the funding for the movie came about. Mr. Justice?
All right, can you guys give me a second so I can hit stop and then re-record?
Wow. We went through that first 15 minutes quickly.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even realize.